My name is Aisling Murphy. I'm 15 years old and I'm a transition year student. As part of my transition year project, I want to be part of the collective voice of change, expression, and freedom of young people as we strive for change. We are delighted to have Mary Butler, Minister of State for Mental Health and Older People, here today to speak with me about my mental health in Irish schools transition year project. You are very welcome, Mary, and thank you for your time today. The approach to mental health in the Irish school system in Ireland must be improved. Student and parent voices are missing from this vital discussion, and therefore I have created this video interview series to speak with students, parents, past pupils, and those who wish to advocate alongside our voices to effect the change we wish to see. Mary Butler, tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, and what you feel you are bringing to your role as Minister for Mental Health and Older People in Ireland.
Hi Aisling, and hi to everyone who will be listening in, and also to Aisling's mum, who has done fantastic work to support her. And from the outset, can I just say, Aisling, I'm looking at your hoodie there, and I see it's the Mental Health in Irish Schools hoodie. Is that one that you developed yourself? Yeah, yeah. It's smashing. It's absolutely lovely.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Look, I just want to say thank you for reaching out and for all the work you have done to date, because the most important thing we can do in relation to our mental health is to speak, and that's exactly what you're doing. So to answer your first question, tell us a little bit about yourself. Well, when I heard you saying Aisling Murphy, so my maiden name was Murphy as well, and I'm married to Mick, and we have 3 children. So our eldest Jack is a teacher. He teaches history and economics. Our middle child Jane is she's doing a master's currently in local government, and our youngest is doing the junior cert. So we've it all going on in the house. We've a lot going on. I entered politics, I suppose, back in 2013, and I was lucky to be elected to the county council, then on to become a TD for Waterford, and re-elected in 2020, and was appointed as Minister of State for Mental Health and Older People by Taoiseach Micheál Martin on the 1st of July. And I was really honoured to receive that role and to see the confidence placed in me. For the past 4 years, when I was opposition spokesperson for older people, so I had done a huge amount of work in relation to older people. I had met all the various groups like Alone and like the active retirement groups, and I had worked closely with carers and all the different organisations in relation to older people. I had known a lot, I suppose, in relation to mental health from being a TD in my constituency. And I think there's not a family in Ireland who haven't had somebody in their own family that have had mental health challenges or that have ill mental health. And I was familiar enough with the services that were available in my own constituency from having a family member that had used the services for many, many years. So I suppose people ask what you can bring to this role. I think the most important thing you can bring to this role is empathy, experience, and compassion. But I think it's so important to have a listening ear and to feel that you can speak to me, and I can see that you can feel you can speak to me, because you're the same age as my youngest. And it's great that young people are talking about their mental health, they're talking about their well-being, they're talking about their feelings. And I suppose people do say back to me that they feel I'm a person they can relate to, because I always say I'm only an ordinary mom as well. At the end of the day, before I come to work in the morning, you still have to hang out the washing, you still have to worry what's going to be for the dinner. So it's normal life for everyone. But when you're appointed as minister, you have the responsibility to make sure that the services are put in place for those that need them most.
How do you feel the approach surrounding mental health has changed since you were in school?
There's an absolute huge difference. So like I'm in my early 50s, so I would have been in school. I would have been in school back in, I'm trying to think, through the 70s and the 80s. And we'll talk, I suppose, specifically about secondary school. I went to St. Declan's Community College in Kilmacthomas, which was a much smaller school when I was there, but has now grown to a very, very large school. And it also has boys and girls, which was unusual at the time because a lot of the schools were boys only or girls only. So I went to school in St. Declan's, and I have to say, people didn't really speak about any challenges they were having or any concerns they were having in relation to their mental health. I do believe that girls would be more inclined to speak to each other, but a lot of the boys were inclined to hide it away. Back in the 80s, for example, there would be a huge stigma in relation to mental health, and a lot of people didn't actually understand it. So it's really, really great that we're here now in 2021 and everybody is speaking about their mental health, their well-being, their mood, the challenges they're facing on a daily basis. And to be honest, that's really a positive move forward. Like when we were in school, we used to have a career guidance teacher who used to direct us in relation to if we were trying to get to college. It was harder, obviously, back in the 80s. Directing us forward in relation to, you know, what subjects we wanted to do, whether we wanted to do an apprenticeship, whatever we'd like to do when we left school. But we didn't have the classes that you have now, the SPHE, all those different, you know, we used to have a religion class and we used to have a class, as I said, in relation to what you would like to do for your future with your careers guidance teacher, but we didn't have the same classes that you have now, and we didn't have the same focus on well-being. We certainly had no focus whatsoever on LGBT rights, nothing like that. So I suppose when you're looking back, it's well over 30 years ago now. So obviously the changes that have come have been absolutely phenomenal, and they're really, really welcome that you as a transition year student would be just putting such a focus on mental health in Irish schools, especially in secondary schools and also in primary schools. But very little talk about mental health when I was in school, Aisling.
A lot has changed since the Vision for Change was last released, not to mention the world experiencing a global pandemic. Ireland has come a long way in enhancing services in mental health promotion, prevention, and early intervention for young people in Ireland. But as you know, there is still a lot of work left to do. With all that being said, it was really exciting to hear the work about to be done in the new mental health policy, Sharing the Vision in 2020 to 2030, with the independent chairperson, John Saunders. How will you take the young voices in Ireland and bring this message to John Saunders and the others involved in the Sharing the Vision policy making?
Thanks again for a really, really good question, and thanks for the work you put into putting these questions together. I really appreciate it. So as you know, we have a new mental health policy. I might have it just here on the desk. I do indeed. So we have a new mental health policy which is called Sharing the Vision. So it's kind of like my Bible now. It's on the desk beside me the whole time, and I spend a lot of time going through it. It's a big book to read. It's a big document. It's pretty heavy at times. So I just find sometimes if I flick open to a specific page and have a look at it, and you know, it really resounds with me. So Sharing the Vision, the new mental health policy, is different from a Vision for Change, which was launched in 2006. This is a policy for everyone. And the reason why this policy is so good is because it's cross-departmentally. So your mental health isn't only in relation to health, it's in relation to all the different supports, education, in relation to housing, in relation to social protection. So across the board, so it's cross-government policy, which is fantastic. I suppose the other good thing about Sharing the Vision is it's a 10-year policy. So Mr. John Saunders, I appointed him as chair of the National Implementation and Monitoring Committee. So that's the committee that will be there to make sure that what's in this policy, Sharing the Vision, will be implemented. So there's a committee after being set up. Mr. Saunders is the chairperson of it. So there's a steering group, but there's going to be lots of smaller committees within that as well. So there's over 40 or 50 people have shown real interest in being part of making sure that this new policy is being implemented. But in relation to your question, I suppose, how do we bring the message to Mr. Saunders and the Department of Health and the HSE and all the others involved in the Sharing the Vision policy making? How do we bring the young people's message back to them? Is that mainly the question you're asking?
Yeah.
So I'll just grab a drink there. So last year when the COVID pandemic hit, an awful lot of the services for young people, especially low impact services, so for counselling and for supports, used to be delivered face to face. But because of the COVID pandemic, we had to change really quickly. We had to change so fast because that wasn't possible anymore. So they're doing now what we're doing face to face on the computer. These are the type of supports that are now in place. Sorry, Aisling, I have a frog in my throat. So, for example, our telehealth services are operating on a 7-day basis. So we have the likes of yourmentalhealth.ie that you can log in onto. We also have the text line 50808. Young people can text. We have the information line 1800 111 888. And we have loads of different organisations that are putting in place supports for young people. So we have My Mind. Now, I refer to My Mind a lot because My Mind provides supports to young people, people of all ages, but they provide them in 15 different languages. And that's really, really important, because I know you told me, for example, that you've loads of people in your school that speak different languages. So it's really important that those supports are in place. And then we have the likes of Turn to Me, Silver Cloud, we have Jigsaw. Now, Jigsaw are an organisation that we spoke about as well previously, and they offer supports for young people aged 12 to 25. And the one thing about Jigsaw is you don't need to be referred by your mum or your dad or your teacher or an older sister or a big brother. You can actually go along to Jigsaw yourself. Now, this was before COVID, obviously. You could go along and you could say, look, I'm really challenged in relation to my mood or my well-being. I'm not feeling well. I think I'm going to self-harm, anything like this. And they would steer you in the right direction. And they have qualified people that would do that. But the most important thing I want to say to anyone who's listening today, Aisling, is that these supports are still there, but they're online. So you might have to go through Facebook or Twitter or Instagram or TikTok. Your generation are all about TikTok now. Or you have to go online. But as soon as COVID passes, and hopefully it will pass soon with the vaccine, supports will go back where we have face-to-face supports. But I think one thing we have learned from COVID is it's really, really important that that we have a blended approach, that some people might prefer just to be in their bedroom, they might prefer to turn on their computer, they might prefer to speak to somebody like that, as against having to be driven someplace. So it's really, really important going forward that we keep this blended approach, that you have the option if you want to see somebody face to face, or if you want to see somebody online, like what we're doing now. Very important. I suppose I'm the bridge between getting your message across to the policymakers. So I have to act as the bridge. And that's why when you reached out to me before Christmas, I was absolutely delighted to arrange to meet to talk and to listen to you, because in order for me as a minister to know what's going on with young people, and I have to listen and I have to learn. And as you are aware, Aisling, and I thank you for putting it up on your page, I put together a leaflet for young people that has been sent to every secondary school in Ireland. And I did check, and apparently it did go out to every school, but maybe because of COVID, it might be still lying in offices someplace. And this leaflet has 12 different support groups on it, and specifically for young people, that if they're not feeling okay, that they know it's okay not to be okay, but also that they know it's okay to ask for help. So I suppose to answer your message, your question, it's really, really important that I listen to you and that I pass on to the policymakers, to those in the HSE, to those in the department, that that you are feeling challenged in school. Like, there has been a lot of uncertainty recently in relation to the junior cert and the leaving certificate exams, and obviously the junior cert. Were you meant to do that this year?
No, I'm in transition.
No. Next year? Oh, sorry, your transition. You did it. Yeah, you didn't get to do it last year either, though. Yeah. So there was lots of issues in relation to the junior cert and the leaving cert exam, and that caused a lot of stress and anxiety. So I would discuss those things with Minister Norma Foley as well, to let her know that the challenges the students are facing. So I suppose I have to act as the bridge. I have to act as the person who will bring your message back, that, and to let the likes of Mr. Saunders, who's the chair of the National Implementation and Monitoring Committee, to let him know that where people are really, really being challenged. And it's very, very important that we do listen. That's key. And again, it's very important that you talk. And it's important to talk to your teachers. It's very important to talk to your parents and to talk to your friends. Because by talking, people always say a problem shared is a problem halved. But it's absolutely true. And sometimes, you could talk to a friend. Your friend might be going through something very, very similar. And when you do reach out and ask for that little bit of help, the help is there. But sometimes people don't realise that you do have to ask for the help first.
How do you mind your own mental health and well-being, especially now in the time of a pandemic?
It's a really good question. I suppose I'm a bit of a home bird. I'm very family centred. So I live in a small town in Waterford called Portlaw, and my mum, who is 83, and my three sisters and their husbands and their families, we all live quite close to each other. So family would be a big part for me, but obviously because of COVID, a lot of our conversations are now on the phone. You know, we might FaceTime each other sometimes as well. From my own point of view, living at home, if the weather is good, I have a small area outside our house where I have a small decking area, and I love planting flowers. So I spend a lot of time doing some planting. Actually, yesterday afternoon for an hour now, I went out the back and I was just doing a little bit of weeding of pots and things like that. I just find it gives me a little bit of time. I've also started the 100 Days of Walking, which was launched there after Christmas. Now, I have to be upfront and honest. I'm very good at doing it, but I do miss the odd day. But if I miss a day, I'll tag it on at the end, because I just think it's really important if you can get out and do a walk. And it might only be a small walk today, you might do a longer walk tomorrow. But I think for anyone, if it suits them, the best thing you can do at the moment, because everybody's so tired of being stuck at home. They're so tired of missing their friends, not being able to go to the cinema in your case, play sports. Everybody is really, really tired of it. And I do think if you can get out for a walk, stretch your legs, and even a little bit of me time. Sometimes now I listen to the radio when I'm out. I'd be listening back to some of the political programs I might have missed, or some of the news items. But I do believe, from that point of view, it's really good. And if it was a really bad evening, that I find it lovely to relax. If the fire is light, and sit down and watch a bit of telly, nice bar of chocolate, and I'm happy out. But you know, it's whatever suits each particular person. Again, the most important thing, and I think you've really focused well on your questions, the most important thing is that everybody makes a little bit of time for themselves. That's really, really important. As a Minister for Mental Health and Older People, during a pandemic, and also you're a TD in your constituency, I suppose I have never ever been busier in my life, never ever. And sometimes I wonder how how you're going to get it all done in a particular day. But there's only so much you can do, and tomorrow is another day. And the most important thing is that you look after yourself as well. So, and take that little bit of downtime, and enjoy and relax. And people sometimes we worry about things that seem huge to us at the time, but then when you look back on it in a couple of days' time, you say, look, I got through that. So I'm a real believer of take one day at a time.
Mary Butler, TD, thank you for showing your support towards my mental health in Irish Schools Transition Year project. Your time, words and commitment to the mental health of young people in Ireland is valued and appreciated.
Thank you very much. And Aisling, can I compliment you on just being to the fore in reaching out and setting up this mental health in Irish schools? I know you told me previously you had a lot of plans for this transition year. You were going to have a day specifically dedicated to mental health. You were going to organise to invite in different organisations to speak to young people. And hopefully, the way things are going now, hopefully you'll be back in school before too long. It looks like the Leaving Cert students will be back first, but hopefully you'll be back around April and you'll be able to organise and put all this in place. But can I just thank you again and keep up the good work, because it's only by having young people like yourself who are listening, who are reaching out, and who are trying to make a change. It's absolutely fantastic. So well done, and well done to your mum too, because I know she's given you so much support.
Yeah, thank you.